Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Custom Carving and Epoxy UK. So, as promised, this is going to be a video, an experiment, what doesn't include Petri. So, I know a lot of the content recently has been Petri. I've been very much obsessed with it because I think it's a brilliant sort of technique to use in resin. But I wanted to do something different, and I've been scouring YouTube, looking at lots and lots of videos, and something that's always interested me is dragons. And I thought I'd have a go at the dragon scale effect in coasters, but me being me, I want to be a little bit different. And luckily, I won some chameleon powders from Let's Resin on a competition on their Facebook page, um, and you get 10 different chameleon powders in there. So I thought it would be interesting because I believe the concept of the dragon scale effect is the fact that you have to use some heavier mica powder based resins as well as lighter resins in sort of combination to create that effect. So I thought it would be interesting if I use these little coaster molds and see if we can get all 10 different chameleon powders in there together, see what effect that makes, but also to see if it comes out with like a multicolored chameleon effect dragon scale. So that's what this project's all about. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go straight to the workshop. So here we are, guys, back in the workshop, respirator on, gloves. I knew this project was going to get very messy with the fact I'm probably going to have 12 different lots of epoxy on the go at any one point. So just wanted to make sure that everything had space where it fits and that I had a reasonably clean surface to go on. And I was looking at these pots and it's amazing the different colours, but I thought probably best to take the lids off them all first, get rid of that little paper protection barrier before I mix the resin. And I'm just going to use these small plastic pots and probably put about a scoop and a half of different chameleon powder in each one of these, just to make sure there was enough powder in there for when we've got the finished result. And as you can see, they're not very sturdy, so it's probably a good thing that I did this before mixing the resin. But so far, really impressed with the different variety of colours from this set, and hopefully we're going to get a cool effect. And again, I have sped this up, guys, so just take your time when you're doing it. And now I decided to move all of these out of the way, give everything a bit of a wipe down before mixing the resin, because the worst thing for me would be to get chameleon powders in the resin, which might ruin the effect. So I'm using my Jauchun Resin that I got from Temu just because it's quite a thick consistency. I got this large mixing bowl, but for me the measurements are never accurate, so I decided to pour around about 6.5 ounces of each in these cups, put it in there and mix it. Now, a top tip, if you don't know how much resin you're going to need, use water first and then measure it in a measuring cup, fill your mold, and that will tell you exactly how much resin you're going to need for your project. Make sure it's dry again before you use that measuring cup, but pretty straightforward. That way you're going to know. I think for this I ended up mixing around about 13 ounces, so 6.5 of each, which was a little bit too much in the end, but you're better to have a little bit more than not enough, and then always have some spare molds around for any excess that you might have. So if you're new to mixing resin as well, when you first mix it, you're going to get a bit of a streaky effect. And what you want to do is mix it. Usually it's about 4 or 5 minutes until all of those streaks are gone and it's crystal clear. You'll still have bubbles in there, but that's fine. As long as it goes crystal clear, remembering to wipe down the sides and the bottom when you mix so that there's no unmixed parts. And this is probably one of the most important part of any resin project, is the mix, because you need to get the right measurements and you need to mix it correctly. Otherwise, it won't cure. And then what I'm going to do is pop this in my bubble removal machine just to try and get rid of any of those excess bubbles that are there. If you haven't seen them before, they're cheaper than a pressure pot, and for me, they seem to work. I've really liked it since having one. Dead straightforward. All you need to do is put them in there for 5 minutes. I'll show you the pressure pot as well, not the pressure pot, sorry, the bubble removal machine that I've got. I got mine from Resiners. Literally takes 5 minutes, push the button, and it creates that chamber and removes all of the bubbles. If you do want one, I do have a discount code with the channel, which is CCUK. And whilst that's mixing, I just decided to get everything prepared, ready for when it's done. But if this is your first time to the channel as well, please like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference. We've just gone over 6,400 subscribers, I think, and I'm hoping to keep growing the channel so that we can keep giving you guys content like this and doing these crazy experiments so you can see which ones work and which ones don't, so you don't waste your resin. So take a second, like, subscribe, and comment. Now, when you do anything like coasters, you're going to want to make sure that you've got a reasonably level surface. So I've got my spirit level out, put a few bits of wood under this wooden surface that I use, just to make sure that everything was as level as it could be, because any effects that you're going to try and do in coasters like bloom or anything like that, you've got to make sure you have a level surface. Otherwise, when the resin pulls in, you won't get an even effect. Now, again, instead of using clear, I decided Chameleon powders show up best against a black background in my experience. So I just thought I'd add 10, maybe 12 drops of this alcohol ink to the clear resin. Because the whole idea of the dragon scale effect is to layer it. So you've got mica powders, which are heavier, and then you've got plain resin, which isn't as heavy. And that is what should create the dragon scale effect. But again, this is my first time doing it. I haven't invented this technique, but there's lots of different channels that do it and probably do it better than me, to be honest. But this is the first attempt, so I thought I'd take you along on the journey. And as far as I know, it's the first time that somebody's put 10 different Chameleon powders into one coaster. But as I said, if it is your first time to the channel, look through some of the previous experiments we've done. We've had some really great effects on some of the pendants that we've done, specifically with the Petrie effect and adding different elements. Been absolutely amazing, some of those results. So now just going to lay all of these out ready for the pour. And I'm just going to wing it, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not going to measure anything out. I'm going to do it based on gut feeling and how much resin I think should go in each of these pots to distribute it evenly. I hope you find that the sound quality is a little bit better on this video as well. I have changed my microphone as we're trying to sort of improve things. And for me, the earpods that I was using sometimes got a bit of a crackly effect. So hopefully you'll find that this is better sound quality for you. And as you can see, we have got 12 different pots of resin that we need to fill. So there's going to be a lot of cleaning up afterwards. I have found, again as a top tip, just let the resin cure and peel it off and save that resin. You can use it in another project. Don't waste anything. So now that's done, taking the resin out of the pressure pot, just going to torch off any of the excess bubbles and get pouring. And again, I was just winging it at this stage, and you will see there's some ice lolly sticks in there, which I find very useful for mixing. And my kids love ice cream, so you know, keep saving those, and then you can get another use out of them. And there we go. That's pretty much all of the resin equally distributed between those cups, with the exception of the gold and the black, which I wanted a little bit more of because I thought we'd be using more of that. Top tip as well from the end results, maybe use a little bit less gold if you're going to try this with the gold, because it does pretty much take over, and I would imagine that's going to be the same with any metallic ones. So just bear that in mind if you're doing this experiment. And now I just started mixing up the clear with the black alcohol ink, and the consistency was still quite thick at this point. So I didn't want to take the risk of a flash cure. So what I did is, once I'd mixed this one and the gold, I thought, you know what, let's just get pouring. And then that way it reduces that risk of any flash cure or anything like that, whilst we go ahead. So again, just mix these and thought, you know what, let's get these molds in place and let's start pouring. My understanding is, with this dragon scale effect we're trying to create, is you start and you finish with the clearer, thinner resin, with the micas and the heavier powders in between, and that's what should create the dragon scale effect. So just starting them all off with this thin resin mixed with the black alcohol ink, then going in with the gold, and then each one of these different coloured chameleon powders. And I was really impressed with some of the colours. It makes me want to try a few of these experiments just with one or two of these colours. And even the white, it was amazing, the different colours in the sunlight that sort of showed on that. But all we're doing here is a basic puddle pour. So I decided to do 5 different chameleon powders, followed by another bit of the clear, followed by another little bit of the gold, and then the other 5. And I'm really liking the look of these so far. But again, if I did this again, I would probably use less of the gold. And then you want to finish off with a clear layer in the middle. As the epoxy cures and comes together, that's what should close up and create this dragon scale effect. But I noticed I had quite a bit of leftover resin, and I never like to waste resin. So I've got a couple of spare molds at the side that I'm just going to fill. One of them being my standard jewellery mold, which I will link in the description as well, because a few people have asked me where I got those from and which one it was. And I just thought, you know what, let's layer up some of these chameleon powders in pendants and see what effect we get. And actually the end result, I really liked. It was almost like a reptile skin. Not quite dragon scale effect, but it was a really cool effect, and I might actually try that and replicate it in a frog or a lizard or something like that and see if we get the same effect. So just cleaning this out with a baby wipe to make sure there's no foreign bodies in there. And then I'm going to spray it with my silicone release spray. Again, I've had a few people asking about that, so I will link it in the description, the one that I use. I can't find the brand I use in the States, but I have found a similar product. So hopefully that works as well for you guys as well. And I'll link that in the description. Now with the silicone mold release spray, the reason you use it is it keeps your molds lasting longer, keeps them shinier for longer, and it also makes that demolding process a lot easier. So just giving it a quick spray in the cabochons that I think I'm going to use. And then I'm just going to layer in whatever leftovers I've got to see what effects we get by putting it in jewellery molds. And again, looking at some of these colours, I'm definitely going to be playing around with these chameleon powders in a few more experiments to see what else I can come up with, because the colours were absolutely stunning. And I'm going to speed this up so we haven't got an hour-long video. All in all, I think this project took me about 2 hours, and I've condensed it down into a 28-minute video. So hopefully not too bad, and hopefully not boring for you. We've also just opened our shop on Etsy as well. So if there is any of these pendants that you actually like and want to get, they will be available for sale. Probably within about 2 to 3 weeks of the video releasing, because I want to make sure that everything is fully cured before it is sold. So within 2 or 3 weeks of each video, if there's any pendants or designs or effects that you really like, we should have some items listed in the Etsy shop. Support the channel if you want to by buying a piece, or buy me a coffee as well if you want to support that way. It's something I didn't know about until the last video, but there's a link in description for that. Any support is appreciated, and it makes sure that this content keeps coming and these crazy experiments keep coming, and hopefully you're enjoying them so far and the results. And I think if I did this again, I would probably try it with 12 ounces rather than 13. I think I got away with, I would have easily got away with 12 ounces rather than 13. And remember, when you're using these mica powders, you will get trapped air in the resin as well, and those bubbles will hopefully come to the surface as well. So before you leave it for the 24-hour cure, make sure that you just torch everything with a lighter. Again, don't use a torch with these silicone molds, otherwise you will burn them. So I'm just going to go over everything with a long nose lighter, get rid of those surface bubbles, and then leave it for 24 hours. Let me know what you think in comments. But we did manage to get 10 different chameleon powders in those coasters, which was the point of the experiment. The only thing to see now is whether or not we get that dragon scale effect, which is what I was going for. And if there's any experiments that you want us to try, put it in comments. You know, we like any ideas coming this way as well. Any crazy experiments, we like to try and just see if we get a different effect. That's what this channel's about: experimenting, playing around with epoxy resin and UV resin, and seeing what effects we get. And I think one of the best videos we've had so far was the silicone oil in the white sinker. So if you haven't seen that video, again, I'll link it in the description for you to have a look at, and we got some stunning effects there which I haven't seen before in this space. And now we've just got to leave these for the standard 24 hours to cure. So it'll be a case of make sure you get your things covered up as well, because the last thing you want is little bugs or anything like that flying onto the back of these and getting stuck in. So for you guys, it's going to be about 30 seconds. And remember guys, if you're liking this, if you're liking the content, like, subscribe and share. It makes such a big difference to the channel. And here's a close-up of what they look like before we leave them to cure. They look stunning so far. And here we go, it's the next day, ready for the demold. They've hardened enough anyway. It's not been the full 24 hours, but I'm really intrigued to see what effects we got by putting all of those chameleon powders in. I'm going to start with these smaller spare pieces, I suppose you'd call them, what we started off with. Again, not fully hardened. And we've just got the gold that has pretty much taken over, if I'm being honest, by the looks of things. Which is always the problem. We've got a few almost scale effects on that one towards the top. But the gold or the bronze powder that I use seems to have pretty much taken over. That one's quite nice as well. We've got a few cool little effects in that. It'd be interesting to try these without the bronze actually and see what effects we got there, because actually the gold almost takes over with these.
But what I'm thinking with these, if it has taken over, I mean, this one, if you look at the corner there, that's amazing. But what I'm thinking is where the gold's taken over, I can always put something on top of that and give it a top coat as well. But actually, the effects look pretty cool. Now I'm hoping that this gold effect hasn't completely taken over in the coasters, because actually where the gold isn't there, it's a stunning effect. So we will see. And if you just see in the corner of that one, we have almost got that dragon scale effect we were going for. So interesting. They were just the spare bits. Again, so are these. So let's get these out. I'm expecting the same effects, to be honest. That is pretty much just bronze. So maybe try this experiment again without the gold. Oh, although these look pretty cool. Again, these deep ovals have got a pretty cool design in them. I suppose you could call them dragon's egg pendants, who knows? So, as I say, these were just the spare bits, you know, but I don't like to waste any epoxy. But we've got some pretty cool designs, actually. Again, the circle ones seem to have worked the best because you can actually still see through to some of the other colours. But I'm excited to see what's happened with the coasters. I'll be honest, it's my first coasters. It's my first attempt at this dragon scale effect. And whether we've got it or not, I don't know. But the pendants look pretty cool, actually. The deeper, bigger round ones seem to have got more of a texture on them, which I really like. Again, even these ones, you can see through almost a little bubbly texture, which is pretty cool. And the gold doesn't fully take those over like it did on the flat keyring ones. So if you look at the difference, I actually really like that effect. So we'll see. And now for the big reveal. I'm going to start with this one. These actually seem to have cured a lot better as well, maybe because there's more resin in there. Okay, so it's kind of worked on this one in certain areas. So here is the effect that I was actually going for. Yeah, stunning piece. And all of those different Chameleon powders are in that coaster. Absolutely love that, where we actually got that effect. It's just a shame that the whole thing didn't get that effect. But we've still got 3 more to look at, so there's still hope that one of them has turned out with the effect that we wanted. Although I'm still pretty happy that we got it on that edge. So that's one. Again, the same thing. We seem to have it on the edge, but not everywhere else. But I might try this again without the gold, you know, because I think the gold kind of takes over the whole piece. But you can even see where we have actually got that dragon scale effect, but it just seems to be around those edges. Maybe that was because, if you remember when we did it, the table wasn't fully level and I had to do a bit of a emergency sort of leveling. But I suppose at least it's a uniform design on the coasters as well, so really happy about that. This one's got a bit more. So again, that dragon scale effect seems to have happened around that edge, but not this edge. But let me know what you think. Again, it could be that I put the 10 different Chameleon powders in this. I might try this again with just 1 or 2 and see if we get a different result. Oh, that one's so close. You can just see it's there. We've got it here as well. And all those different colours sparkling away. That one is really close. I think what I might try and do is, as I say, try it with 1 or 2 of the Chameleon powders. Now this is the stand, so this will be interesting as well. And this seems to have come out like more of a rainbow pattern. Again, just trying to be careful with this because I don't want to ruin the shape, especially when it's not been fully cured for that long. Probably could have done with leaving it for a few more hours, but I think it'll harden okay. And this, again, look at that. That's probably my favourite part of the effect, to be honest. It's just the sides where it's layered the different Chameleon powders. So yeah, wasn't exactly what we were going for, but we have got parts of it around those edges. And I think a full coaster with that effect would look absolutely amazing. But that's what you get when you put all 10 different Chameleon powders into one piece. So again, don't be like me. Put maybe 1 or 2 in with your clear resins and see what effect you get. But overall, really happy with that for a first time, and really happy with the stand. That's come out to be my favourite part out of the coasters, to be honest. So yeah, let's see. Let's continue experimenting. If you've liked the content, please like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.